Hello and welcome to the Littleton Affordable Housing Trust meeting. Today is Tuesday, February 18th, 2025, and we are live via Zoom this evening, and we do have a quorum with Marianne here, Sue Melander, Bartlett Harvey, and Anna Houston. Angus, unfortunately, will not be joining us. He has a family emergency. Mark, I believe, will be a little late, and I have no idea when Matthew will be joining. So I think we can go ahead and get started. So for this evening, we have some special guests that we have been very much looking forward to having. And we have Laura Schufelt and Shelley Gehring, both from MHP. And if you could please introduce yourselves, and then we'll do the same.
Let me go. Hi, everyone. I'm Laura Schufelt. I am a Senior Advisor and Real Estate Development Officer at Mass Housing Partnership. And I've been with MHP for about 13 and a half, almost 14 years. And I primarily work on assisting towns and trusts and housing authorities in developing affordable housing on public land or buildings by mostly disposing of it to developers. So I work on pre-development and the RFP, and then help facilitate the review of the proposals. And my colleague Shelley.
Thank you.
I'm Shelley Gehring, also with MHP and on the community assistance team. And my background is not in development, so I'm here learning as well and seeing if there's any other way that I can support you.
Great. Well, thank you both. So trustees, if you could please introduce yourselves and identify your appointing authority and the years that you've been on the trust. So I'm Anna Houston, and I have been appointed by the town administrator as his designee, and I've been on the trust for about a year and a half formally, and then observing for a couple years prior to that. Bartlett.
Hi, I'm Bartlett Harvey. I've been on the Housing Trust since it started, I guess. I think the Housing Authority in town is the group that sent me there here originally. I have a background in architecture and buildings, and I'd like to see a particular project I'm working on going ahead. And I think, Laura, I think you sound like just the perfect person to talk to, because we're writing a request for proposals, and we have it's going to be a very difficult project.
Sue, would you like to go next?
Sure. I'm Sue Melander. I'm the representative from the Council on Aging, and I've been on the trust for, I don't know, 4 years. Sounds good.
All right, thank you. Marianne?
Hi, folks. I'm Marianne here. I've been on the trust since September, so I guess I'm the newbie here, and I was appointed by the Select Board. I look forward to the call.
Thank you. And we do have another guest with us this evening. Linda, if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself.
Hi, I'm Linda Stein. I'm the chair of the Littleton Historical Commission. I'm also on the CPC, and we're looking to possibly work on an affordable housing project with possible historic preservation as well. So that will be part of the challenge. We'll see if that works out.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for the introductions. So Laura, Shelley, I think that a little bit of historical context. We had folks out about a year ago to talk about the Durkee Farm project and what to do to be able to even begin the process of advancing that project forward. And at the time, it was recommended that we go ahead and try to do some initial due diligence, which we have done, and come full circle to where we are today. We're very grateful that we were awarded some technical assistance because this particular group of trustees, we have not had a project like this before, where we take it sort of from the ground up, and certainly not with a historical component as well. So this is part of why we could really use your assistance. And as Bartlett mentioned, we aspire to be able to put together an RFP sooner rather than later, and get it out into the community to see what responses we get. So I look to you then to help guide us in that, and let us know, how do we begin this process with you all?
Thanks, Anna. I think I'll start anyway. So typically, I looked through all the materials that you sent. Thank you for that. I had some questions before of things I thought that weren't included with the application, so I wasn't sure had been done. So it looks like you had a very comprehensive pre-development, and that makes it easier when we come in. Although we sometimes assist right from identifying the site. So we have various levels. So first, what are your goals for the property? I saw that there's, been an evaluation that there's room for 18 bedrooms that look like with a traditional Title V. So 2 questions. What's your goals? And then if you could do more with an IA system, are you interested? An IA system is a, innovative septic system, shared septic system that would usually increase your bedroom count by about 50%, 40 to 50%. So those are my first 2 questions. So anyone want?
So thank you for those questions. So Bartlett, in his letter, identified 5 goals, and I think that that's a really good start. So his is the one that says Turkey Farm information. Bartlett, would you like to go through those 5 goals?
Bartlett, I think you're muted.
Okay. I need to find my copy of that
I can
memo.
talk through them if you would like, and then you can.
Well, the first one was just as many units as possible, I believe. So if we can in fact put a innovative system there, I'd be happy to do that. Littleton has not had great luck with with innovative systems. The high school had one that hasn't worked well in 20 years. So that's a consideration. The next one is historical preservation. The house dates back to sometime before 1825, I believe, is the estimate. It's been empty for quite a while. As I said, it needs really quite a lot of work. I think the barn would take less work. So, I don't know. I mean, I guess, if we can make a bigger system work and get more units on the building, I think there's room on this lot. I think there's room to do that. And I think I would like to see that.
You have the list in front of you, Bartlett? If not, you can keep going.
No, I don't. I have
That's okay.
the version without the goals.
Got it. So goal number 3 is a mix of 2-bedroom and 3-bedroom units.
Yes. Well, that's my preference. I'm a believer in family units. I think it's sort of a family neighborhood. I think the town needs family units. I think that the proposed development of the IBM site in town, which is going to be 800 and some units, has a sufficient number of one-bedroom units that we can try to get 2 and 3 bedroom units down at this Durkee site. I think the barn would lend itself pretty well to 2 and 3 bedroom units. And I think if we get more than, if we the septic system allows for more than that, then I think we could, build some duplexes or triplexes or townhouses that have 2 or 3 bedrooms each.
And I would like to add to what Bartlett just said about the 1 bedrooms that are going to be built at the old IBM site. There are a lot of 1 bedroom units that are expected to be planned or expected to be built. And that's part of our MBTA plan, in case you weren't aware. And then there's another set of properties just south of the Durkee farm that are also part of the MBTA plan. And so there's nothing specific about those that has been brought forward, but we have zoned for it. And so I guess given the fact that we as trustees have talked about how we want families to be our population served, I think the goal of 2 and 3 bedrooms would make sense.
Can I just jump in?
Certainly.
So the IBM site, the MBTA communities law is supposed to be family housing. So if
It is. It's a mix of 1 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms, and 3 bedrooms, and 10% affordability there.
okay, but no age restriction.
No.
There are 40 units, is that right, Maren, that are senior only?
Correct. But right.
Okay.
And then just so you know, there is planned transport between the IBM site to the train station, which is just across the street from Durkee Farm. And that's part of our MBTA plan as well, is to have that transportation between the town center IBM site to the train.
But there's no developer now. Right now, it's just zoning.
Just zoning.
Well, so the IBM site, that one has Sal Lapoli is the developer for that.
Oh, okay.
But the lots near the train station there's no developer.
Mhm. Okay. Okay, thank you. Sorry.
No, it's all great. We, again, we don't know what you don't know, so
Yeah.
keep asking questions.
Okay.
Item number 4 that Bartlett wrote as a goal is creative use of site. So Bartlett, perhaps you can expand on that?
Yeah, I'm just looking for pipe dreams. I think that, I'm kind of limited in my thinking, and I think somebody could be creative and figure out something to do with that site. There's the house is quite large, and it's limited by the septic system that it has its own system to 3 bedrooms. So there's some space that doesn't look like it's going to be it's not going to be residential in that house. The barn has a full-size basement that really isn't. It's half of it's or most of it's underground, so it's not really suitable for residential. It could be, any number of things. The way that it's structured with granite posts, it would be very difficult to use it for parking for more than 1 or 2 cars. So there are just spaces there that I would like to see used, and if it could be I don't think there's really enough population there for it to be an after-school education thing, or But it could be some kind of recreational use. It could be some kind of commercial use. It would, there's enough agricultural land in Littleton that it could be used for some agricultural storage, or I don't know, I mean, there's just, I would just like to see some creative thinking with some spaces that aren't readily made residential.
Thank you, Bartlett. And one thing that came up, I think it might have been at our September meeting, one of our former trustees had mentioned that there's a home or a parcel adjacent to this one where the homeowner was looking to sell the property, and I'm not really quite sure if that sale went through. Maren, I don't know if you happen to know. It's a house right on Foster Street. It's sort of like the single house facing the parking lot to the train station.
I've not heard any of the conversations, so I can't help with that.
Yeah, I think Kim had mentioned it back in September. So that could be another thing that maybe we take a look at if there is in fact a potential for another adjacent property to want to be acquired in any way. But we'd have to check into that. That's just something I remembered, so I wanted to bring it up. So item number 5 on Bartlett's 5 of 5 goals is provision of an additional function serving a civic purpose. So is it kind of the same as number 4? Or?
Yeah, it's just an extension of number 4. It's
And that's actually something that Bartlett and I saw in a document that Linda shared with us, and we uploaded it. It's the Westford property that has not only the many affordable units, but they also have a component there, I believe, for their food pantry. So we luckily have our brand new EHS building, which is getting ready to open this year. So I don't know that that's a necessity in our community right now, but you never know. So as Bartlett said, thinking creatively about what else we could do that serves the community at this particular site, especially given that it's right across the street from the train station.
Yeah, it's a little far for a coffee shop that would serve commuters, but it could be that.
Okay. So, so Laura, to answer your question about our goals, I think that these are the goals that we've had some discussion about, except for that last one, which Bartlett and I have been bantering about a little bit. But what we did back in December was we took some of your questions. We all had some homework to review the presentation in the video of MHP's presentation on disposing of public lands from last year. And so in the presentation, it speaks about the types of questions we need to be answering. So we tried to go through those. And so one of them is around ownership versus rental. So I do think that we could use some guidance on that.
Okay. So I guess first of all, I mean, you probably have a need for both, but if there was a greater need for one than the other, that's usually where I start is, what the need is. But right now there are not, except for one program that is only accessible by gateway cities, there's not any subsidy programs from the state for homeownership. So the difference between cost and affordable price, or CPA affordable, is quite large. And the only way to fill that gap is local funds right now. Or you'd have to do a combination, although I think, I'm trying to remember whether you bought this with CPA funds.
We did.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so you have to everything has to be 100% AMI or below.
Mhm.
So that's probably, for a 3-bedroom condo, it's probably a $250,000 gap between cost and what the maximum sale price would be. Rental, there's a lot more subsidy out there, but it is dependent on how many units you can get. And right now, this looks like it's a pretty small project.
It is.
And most state funding starts at 8 units. I think you can get 8 units. I think it might be tight. But there's not the subsidies for the 8 units is like $100,000 per unit. So looking at financial feasibility, wrapping into all the things that you've told me with goals, it's going to be, it's not a slam dunk. We'll have to be, careful on how it gets, how it gets put together. The RFP gets put together so that it's attractive to developers.
Right.
And it's feasible, because nobody wants it not to work moving forward.
So I think what you just said is something that we've also discussed in the past, is that while we can have these ideas, ultimately it needs to be feasible, and that there is as much affordability as possible. And part of what I've been looking at, especially seeing in projects in other parts of the Commonwealth, whether it's down in what is it?
Medway?
Medway, thank you. There's so many M
Right.
down in Medway, and then in Westford, where the entire project is affordable, and that would be clearly ideal.
Yeah.
So
I don't think you don't have a choice, because you bought the land with CPA funds.
perfect.
And if you buy the land with CPA funds, everything has to be 100% AMI or below.
Okay, thank you so much for reiterating
Oh.
that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So it'll all have to be affordable.
Okay.
So you don't have the offset of market units to subsidize some of the affordables. But you do have CPA funds and trust funds. Now, I don't know what your parameters are and it's too early to really talk about what the parameters are for your CPA and trust money. So we'll just put that aside for now and talk about,
And that's fine. Just so you know, the buckets are, we've got the funding that's currently in our trust at 1.1. And then we have the CPC in town that we can go to for additional funding. Of course, it's all based on their vote. And then Linda with the Historical Commission has also offered up that some of their dollars could also be potentially used.
okay.
So that's all for future discussion. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. That's good to know. So I guess I heard what Bartlett said about the barn. And that was gonna be one of my questions, what use you were looking at for the barn. So you're thinking of putting units in the barn or using the barn for residential?
I
Yes.
am, yeah.
Yeah,
Or we are, I should say.
yeah. How does the barn have windows?
No,
It has a few.
it has a couple, but
Not enough for ventilation for,
no. I mean, I see it as keeping the shape of the building, possibly with a couple of dormers thrown onto the roof and a whole bunch of windows cut into it wherever we need to.
okay. Okay,
So, I mean, I think that is something that the Historic Commission would allow. I mean, that we keep sort of the outlines of the historical part of the building, keep the structure as much as we can,
mhm,
and then we do what we need to make it residential.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, that was just keeping it so that, you know, you're walking that fine line with making it, you know, legally residential
Right.
and also not disturbing the shape so much that it
Right.
doesn't meet the historical, you know, the historical features are lost. So we don't, you know, you gotta walk that line, but it can be done. It just, I wanted
Yeah.
to put that out there. All right, so, what else? Community meetings, have you had any? Is the community behind this?
So one of the things that that has happened is there are two projects that the town has heard about that are truly affordable projects. One is a duplex that Habitat for Humanity is likely going to be the group that works on that one, and then this one. I've refrained from doing any sort of community meetings until we had some sort of a true jumpstart. And so what I would like to do is start engaging the community and most certainly the Durkee Farm community. So one of the documents that we sent was the development itself of the Durkee and Kay properties, which shows you all the now $1 million homes that are there. And so that would be the first community that I would want to engage in this process in addition to the town as a whole. But I see it as paramount to getting anything done.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it'd be good to get a true number of, you know, a range number of units so that you're not going in, you know, them thinking 30 and you're thinking 10 or 8, you know.
Right.
Makes a big difference when you have, you know, not a specific number, but a range of them, you know, range, and it's got to be 8+ to really make it, I think, to make it feasible, unless there's so much money in the town that, you know, you can fill that
No.
gap.
No.
Nope, I didn't think so. I know, you know, CPA and trusts, you know, and I know that USCPC has spent the money on housing, which is a good thing. You know, it hasn't just sat on it. So, that's good. So we'll, you know, I think what I'd like to do is get to a range of units, and that I think could be helped with a simple, you know, first calculation whether an innovative alternative system is workable for this many bedrooms. It's not a big ticket item. It's obviously more than a Title V system, but it also has some denitrification and, you know, it has some benefits environmentally besides just the fact that you can, you know, the reason why you can do more units is because it does have secondary filtration. There's a lot of different types out there. I wouldn't go into all the different types. They all pretty much give you the same boost in number of bedrooms. But they have some work better than others. Some, you know, are some have a long history and some have a short history but are performing really well right now. So you just
So-
leave that up to the developer.
So they work in general by treating the effluent more thoroughly, and you still have a large leaching field.
You can have a condensed
So,
leaching field. You can have a Presby system.
okay.
That's about half.
Oh, okay. So,
So it takes up less space.
all
And
right.
yeah, and you can have it so that it's more sustainable. In the past, it was always a lot of them were sand filtered that then had to be replaced, and that could, you know, if it wasn't replaced at the right timing, it didn't
Okay.
do the right job. Now they have wood chips that never have to be replaced. They have a lot of different
Okay,
variations. So I think
So-
we'll say, we'll,
it sounds like there's advantages to doing that system, even
Yeah.
in spite of, in addition to the number increase.
there is. There
Okay,
is. It's
fabulous.
definitely environmental,
So Laura,
advantages.
I'm sure that when the time comes, Maureen can put you in touch with our light and water department to have this kind of a conversation.
Mhm.
They've been busy working on our sewer system in the downtown area by IBM, and that particular connection is literally just going up our main drag of King Street through the municipal buildings, and there's no talk of getting to the Durkee Farm area, but having the conversation with them about this kind of a system, I think would be really important.
Yeah, great. Happy to do that.
Back along the lines of, thinking creatively, Marianne, Mark, who isn't here, Lauren and I recently visited with a company in town called Lab 9 Modular. I don't know if or 9 Lab Modular,
Mhm.
heard of them?
Yes.
So,
From Sweden?
yes, but they're
Yeah.
here in Littleton, actually.
Yes, I know. They're doing a project in Somerville that I've toured, and I've toured their factory.
Terrific. Well, we
Right.
got to do that last month, and so we mentioned this project to them, and it's likely way too small, but just as a side project, if you will, we said, if they ever wanted to have something that they could have, a mile from their building as sort of a showcase site, that perhaps they might want to consider it. So I would just throw that on the table, that shouldn't be that should not be completely discounted.
Right, yeah, modular definitely is getting better, and there's a couple of different factories that have sited in Massachusetts. I was at one 2 weeks ago, and Reframe, and I can't remember where it was. Do you remember, Shelley?
Andover.
Andover, that's right. They're in Andover. So, there's quite a few that are popping up around, which is good to see. It's about time Massachusetts. That's one place where we're behind most of the rest of the country in innovation, and that's, the actual stick and, well, it won't. Modular is not stick built, but the actual construction. So,
So one comment just to add quickly, relative to the decisions we're making in the discussion, as Anna mentioned, we've watched the panel discussions, right, that MHP has put on, and I feel like it's kind of a catch-22 in terms of defining those parameters. We're asking ourselves, is it 2 or 3 bedrooms? Is it, 80% AMI or what? But I think given the small size of the property and the project, we want to make it a feasible project and attractive to developers. So I think that's some of the guidance we're looking for. There's what we would like, like our pipe dream, like Bartlett said, versus what's going to be feasible and attractive. And hopefully that's part of what you can share, right? To guide us to make some of those decisions. And there might be tough decisions, right? Like you might want 3 bedrooms, but that's not going to be feasible. So I'll be interested to hear, how you can offer that kind of guidance.
yeah, and most of the time those decisions, there's in the scoring for request for proposals, and it really wasn't done in Westford's, but in the ones that we typically write, is that the scoring is, not acceptable, advantageous, and highly advantageous. So if you say, you want a mix of bedroom size for family units, and in the advantageous, and then in the highly advantageous, you say we'd like to see a range that definitely includes 3 bedrooms or something like that. And then that's how you make it. Developers will do what they can to get all highly advantageous. So that's where you can kind of, okay, they might have to do something a little bit different in order to get there. They may have to take out, a patio or some programmed outside space in order to do what you want, but you make it a trade-off and you have to decide which is, what's more important to you. But we'll
Yeah.
put those kinds of things in the scoring criteria.
Makes sense.
I really like that scoring criteria that was in Westford's RFP. It's exactly what you mentioned. Yeah. You set it up so that the most points are awarded to the things that we really want.
Yeah, and you fall back to, it's a minimum of this, it's a minimum of 100% of the units at 100%. And you wouldn't do that probably. If you're doing home ownership, you might do that, but you wouldn't do it for rental. You'd want to have some deeper affordability, because you wouldn't get very much subsidy for all 100% units. But anyway, that's details. We can get into that later. I think I do have a preliminary list of questions, and maybe that you've seen that or it was discussed. I usually send it out after the first discussion, so you can look at it, and then you don't have to have all the answers yet. You won't have all the answers yet, but it'll get you thinking about the kind of parameters that we want to put in the RFP. And if you've seen any of the presentations on the RFP, and the one thing we have to stay away from is tipping it to a public construction job. So we have to be broader and not prescriptive on the design and some other things. You couldn't say, this is the design that we want. We need it to look like this. Now, with the historic piece of it, you can be more prescriptive for that because they have to follow historic parameters. But for the new construction, we have to be, we don't want more than 2 stories or 3 stories or whatever it is. You can say that, but you can't say it has to look like this. It has to be this design. It has to be, triplex townhouses. That would be too prescriptive. So we know how to massage the language, and you can have some design standards. Again, they can't be that prescriptive, but you can have some kind of loose guidelines, and I can show you some of the guidelines we've used in the past. But that's really that's the one bright line we have to stay away from, because if it turns into a public construction job, you're not going to be able to afford to do it. It adds about 40% to the cost.
Yeah, that's really great to hear about your experience to be able to word it properly. And we've discussed that before, that given all of your experiences at MHP, we're sure that you have the way to be able to word things so that we get closer to what we want, while at the same time getting that market interest. Yeah, that sounds great.
And it's, I won't sugarcoat it. A small project, it's not easy to find developers who are, will jump at it. We'll make it as attractive as possible. It's probably more attractive for a nonprofit than a for-profit. And I'm not real familiar with nonprofits in your area. So I haven't worked in Littleton before, which is surprising, but I have.
Well, welcome.
Thanks.
So I know that Bartlett spoke briefly with the one at CTI in Lowell, Community Teamwork in
Yeah.
Lowell.
Mm-hmm.
Long ago.
Yeah. Well, it's not. You can't really go out and you can have you can't have specific conversations about this project.
Correct.
But you can have conversations around their development, priorities and, what have you. But we can look around, and see, who else might be interested. And there's a couple of nonprofits that are trying to expand their reach. So, there may be someone, that's, we'll keep looking. And I have, a list of developers who request that, that if not, when an RFP goes out, that I notify them so that they know it's in the central register.
Great.
So,
Sounds like you're very well connected, Laura, just what we need. There have been other projects in our surrounding towns, from the Westford one to
Yeah.
Acton, just built a all senior one.
yeah,
Lee built an all senior one. So there are
Yeah.
definitely names to be explored.
yeah, Acton has been doing it through their, nonprofit of their housing authority. And so they've been doing, they did a 202, which is a HUD senior housing. And then they did the most recent ones, and they also did, I'll age myself, a long time ago, they did modular, duplexes. So, when I was first starting, in this business, my third career. So, yeah, there's ways to do it, and they may not want to just do, because they're managing the units too, so they may want to expand to other towns with their nonprofit.
Mhm.
I think the Westford Town Farm Project is using a group called Choice. They're a nonprofit associated with the town of
Chelmsford.
Chelmsford.
Yeah, Chelmsford Housing Authority.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and that's a nonprofit associated with, now they do their projects because they're an associated nonprofit. They have to do prevailing wage, but they've been able to make it work. They don't do the full, public construction, but they do prevailing wage. So, and they have been made it work. They usually use tax credits, and you have to have 28 to 30 units to do tax credits. So, but they may be looking for a small project, or they may look for one that they can add to another small project,
Yeah.
so that they can get better financing. Anyway,
I was just going to add, here in Littleton, we do have a housing authority.
Mhm.
And so it's going through some changes right now, but the town splits, or has been splitting the executive director with two other towns.
mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm. That's
Right.
becoming more popular.
Yeah.
I'm working with one housing authority that is managing 6.
Wow.
Managing 5 others.
Regionalization.
Well, it isn't. They all have their
Right.
own boards, so the poor executive director has to go to 6 board meetings a month.
The whole week out of the month. Yeah.
I know, it's crazy.
Okay.
So anyway, I think we got a good start. I'll send,
Yeah.
my preliminary memo, and some of these questions we've already kind of talked about a little bit, so, I'll try and cull it a bit so that you're not answering things we've already talked about.
Great. Thank you, Linda.
And
Laura,
again, you're not going to be able to answer all the questions yet, but these are the things that we'll work on.
Okay.
So
Great.
our group, and I can confirm what everybody has talked about, really trying to get moving on this. So from a timing perspective, when would you think that we should have these questions back to you? Typically, we meet monthly, but we can meet every other week, because we said that we would do that if it came to that, to be able to, continue to make progress on this.
Well, I think it's probably most productive if I get the questions to you, if you want to meet as a group to discuss them,
Mhm.
or you want to meet with Shelley and I to discuss them, so that we're hearing at the time you're discussing it. Sometimes that helps because you might have questions. I'm willing to do it, as soon, on your schedule, just, I think, probably I'll also send, a set of, design guidelines or stand guidelines, I guess you call them, that I did, well, not just me, but that we did for, a project in Wellfleet. You're very different from Wellfleet, but you'll get the idea of, the kinds of things that you can do. Wellfleet has very traditional, Cape architecture, and then they have postmodern, the slanted ceilings and they have a combination of both. So there's, they were looking for something that captured kind of both, and they
Oh.
got it. So, which was good. So,
Right.
I'll send that along as well.
Great.
So I will go ahead and talk with the trustees about a next date so that we could have that conversation with you, because I think that would be the most fruitful and probably the speediest as well.
Yeah,
Right.
it'll get us to the finish line quicker,
Yeah.
Right.
sounds
That's
Okay.
Real
Right.
quick, before you depart, I just wanted to reach out to the trustees and see if you all have any questions before Laura and Shelley sign off. Bartlett?
Yeah, I do. I have one. At one point, the trust was sort of debating separating the house and its separate septic system from the rest of the property. And I mean, given what you said about having the bigger the number of units, the better. I think that's not a good idea. But we were thinking that because the house is such an order of magnitude more difficult project, just because of the structural work that it needs, and the probably more severe historic restrictions. When at some point of view, it makes sense to separate that, because the barn and the 5 acres would be easier. So
Yeah, I think we'll keep it as a possibility. I think it makes a lot of sense to do that.
would it make it easier to sell that? I mean,
Yeah.
sell as in getting somebody in to do this project, would separating it out would make it easier?
Yeah, I don't think, I think so.
Okay,
I think so. And
so we
we'll,
can structure the RFP to sort of say that's a possibility.
yeah. Yeah, we could
Right.
do, with or without. And then you could sell it separately.
Mhm.
It'd be I'd say you'd do an outright sale at that point. Or
Right.
or you find the money just for that one house. That's where sometimes packaging it might be more advantageous, but we'll look at both ways.
Okay, great. Thank you. I just want,
Let's see, Mary Ann?
No questions. Thank you.
Okay, Sue?
No questions, thank you.
All right. Linda, how about you?
No, I think I'm all set. Good conversation.
Great. And then my only question is, before we sign off, Laura, so how does the RFP work? Is that something that MHP drafts when it comes time? Yeah?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I draft, we'll go through a couple of drafts. So we'll have a first draft. Usually we go through a couple of drafts. We'll have the parameters, we'll wordsmith it, and hopefully not too picky. But we'll wordsmith it and come back and then finalize it. With the RFP, just so you know, for a timeline,
Mhm.
when the RFP is released, it's advertised in newspapers twice and in the Central Register, which is through the Secretary of the Commonwealth has control of that. And you can't give the RFP out before that, before it's advertised in the Central Register. And then usually 2 to 3 weeks after it's in the central register, you have a site visit so that prospective bidders can see the site and ask some questions. And then you usually give a total from the release date to the day that it's due is usually 8 to 9 weeks. It has to be 30 days, but 30 days isn't enough to get conceptual drawings done and other things. And you want to see what it's going to look like. You know, that's one of the things. So that's 8 to 9 weeks. And then it's usually, you have to check for completeness and all that kind of stuff. And if you want to have the proposers, assuming there's more than one, even if there's one, present what they want to do so you can ask specific questions, you can do that, and that then becomes part of the scoring. And usually you make a decision in about a month to 6 weeks. And then it's in the lawyer's hands to do a land disposition agreement. And one of the questions is, do you want to sell it outright or do you want to do a ground lease? So that'll, that's kind of a basic question that we'll do the pros and cons on if you want the next time.
Yep, we do want.
Okay.
That sounds terrific.
I actually have one question now that you mentioned the RFP. For the historical preservation portion, do you want us to work on that part or do you work on that part?
I need some assistance with it. I've done it, through I was on community preservation for a long time. And we did historic preservation of individual town-owned houses. So I have some experience with it, but I'll need some help with the language. I'd
Okay,
appreciate it. Or you can draft it and we'll plug it in. We do that too.
okay.
Thank you.
Great.
Well, thank you both very much for being here this evening, and we'll be in touch with a next proposed date, and we'll go from there.
All right, and I'll send things. Anna, should I send everything to you to distribute?
If you wouldn't mind sending it to Maren and copying me, that would be great, because Maren should be getting all of that information and then distributing it. I do what I can in terms of helping to keep things moving.
Okay, that's great. Glad I asked. Well,
Thank you.
nice meeting you all.
Thank you very much.
Good night.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Night.
Okay, let's see, I see that Mark is here too. Mark, did you want to be promoted to panelist? Unfortunately, we can't hear him.
Mark, we cannot hear you, even though you're unmuted.
I don't know that I can say anything, can I?
Oh, there you go. Now we can hear
There we
you.
go. I can't see that I'm there, so, okay.
You're here. All
I
right.
didn't see the notice that I was promoted, so.
Well, and that was my question for you. Do you want me to promote you? Because it's not working how it's usually does.
I'm fine however, so.
Oh, let me try promoting then. There we go. Okay. There we go. Okay.
There he is. Welcome, Mark. Were you able to hear any part of the last conversation?
I've been online for about the past 10 or 15 minutes, so I heard the tail end of it.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right, so we're on to the rest of our agenda. Item B, which is status on the implementation of the homeowner mini grants. And so I would like to thank the authors of the content for the February town newsletter. I think that was Mary Ann.
I was a contributor, but it was really Lucia, Amy, Maren, that team that put it
Fabulous.
together.
Lucia, Mara, and Mark, thank you. Thank you to everybody. I thought it was very clear, very well articulated. So I do think that a lot of folks will have a chance to see that. And then also many thanks to Sue for flying solo on EHS highlights to promote the program. You are a very calm host and speak very clearly. So I wasn't kidding when I said you have another career if you want.
Thank you. I also, in addition to that, if you remember at the last meeting, Mark volunteered me to try to get information out through the town podcast. And I did contact Jim, and he said that's on his list, and he will get in touch with me when they decide to do that topic. So the small
Terrific.
topic. So
Terrific.
that's out there.
All right. And so guess what, Sue? At some point you get to give him a task to do.
Right. Thank you. I will save that up.
There you go, your chit. And Amy, thank you so much. You did an excellent job explaining the whole program and the process on the EHS program. So great job. Thank you. So I hear we have an application, right?
Did we want to start with the small grant program?
I think so.
Okay.
That might take a little bit. And, since this is the first one, I just wanted to establish the request to EHS to provide us with information, if possible, like a week in advance, just so that we have a chance to review it. Because we've all had the opportunity to sit through the LRAP applications and you give us sort of the number that we're all looking for. But this is new. So for tonight, what do you have for us to look at or to talk about?
Yes, so I would typically provide that that type of notice if possible, but this one came on kind of quick, and the situation she was already this person was already in the process of kind of exploring getting help doing this renovation or this type of repair to the home. So it kind of came on kind of quick, and I wanted she found out about the program after the fact of like getting all of the quotes from 5 different HVAC plumbing companies. So we were kind of on like a little bit of a deadline because there is a little bit of a health safety concern here. So as you'll see, I think Marion just shared her screen, which you can see the small grant program cover sheet. So it provides some information. This is a single individual who had identified complications with her furnace and it sought inspection to determine the issue. Upon the inspection, it was identified that there was potential leaks for carbon monoxide, and replacement was highly recommended. They were even strongly encouraging for her to get a carbon monoxide reader in her bedroom for the time frame, just because it wasn't a matter of if, it was a matter of when the system would start to fail. So she went out and got 5 different bids, 5 different estimates for replacement. Her units were purchased together, and so they were saying they were likely going to go together with the whole thing. So all 5 bids were received and presented to Henry for review. And the preferred contractor that he recommended was the preferred contractor for the residents. So he had given his blessing based on the very detailed, itemized quote to move forward.
All right. Thank you so much for sharing this, Maren. And so I'll open it up to trustees. If you're still reading it, that's fine, for any comments or questions.
Is it oil burner? Or
Gas.
Gas, okay. But an old unit, an old boiler or furnace,
Yes.
okay.
So I don't have any problem covering this under the small grant. Are there other opportunities for the homeowner to offset the cost through National Grid or Littleton Electric or Mass Save or things like that?
There possibly could be. I think that with the concerns regarding the carbon monoxide potential leaks is a little bit of a barrier to the time that would all take, because that requires additional agencies to come out and do their own personal evaluation.
Mass Save is usually pretty quick. Can we get the fire department involved to help with the carbon monoxide? Is that something they
She
would
already
do?
took care of that. She's got one in
Okay.
her room.
Okay.
Yeah, my experience with replacing a boiler was that gas company was pretty quick, and the contractor handled all the paperwork, and I did get a rebate of some kind on it. So I think that's an avenue that is worth pursuing. But I think that process could be started simultaneously with the actual work. We're very close.
I think within the actual quote from the installer, it did mention different rebates that they would be eligible for and such. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, you need to get a unit with a stated efficiency to qualify, but presumably that could be done, like 90% or 95% or whatever the standard is today.
Just one point of clarification, is this replacing the heating unit or the AC? Because there's usually not gas ACs.
So this is a joint unit. That's the way that it was described. It's a natural gas heating and AC furnace replacement. The units kind of coincide based on the description that I received.
You know what that means, Bartlett? I didn't know there were gas AC units.
Well, I mean, it's possible. I mean, I used to have a gas refrigerator, but I don't know quite. I don't remember seeing a modern gas and air conditioning combined in one system. I mean, sometimes the ductwork is combined, but
I think that's where they kind of link together, because the ductwork was something that was noted in the detailed description that Henry had approved.
Okay. So it's just ductwork with a heating coil in it and an air conditioning coil in it, and a boiler that heats the heating coil.
Well, at this point, it looks like, well, let me just make sure. Are there any other questions, Marianne, Sue?
So I don't have any questions about this specific case here. I think it's a good use. I'm happy to see that we got an application so soon after going live with the program. I guess I'd just ask Amy, whenever you get the first case going through, did the process work? Or is there anything that we have to adjust or fine tune? I'd be curious to know.
So I think that all of this kind of is we're gonna tweak it as we go with finessing our procedural aspects. I think that it went fairly well. I mean, as soon as I got the call and I spoke with this woman and was able to verify the initial eligibility, I mean, she was already kind of in the process and heard about our program after the fact. So this was kind of a rushed, let me see if we can definitely get this going for you. You meet the criteria. This is the type of project that this program is hoping to help with. So let me see if we can make it work. It was and she had all the information handy. She came in within 24 hours and had that application completed, had all the necessary documentation. I ran down to Marin and Henry as soon as I got it, just because I knew we had a meeting coming up. So, this is a unique circumstance. And I think, now that we have a little bit to go from. I'm sure that there's going to be things that we find that we want to fine tune, getting the stuff more in advance, so that everybody has time to review it. But otherwise, I mean, Marin is always available. She's been great. And same with Henry. He's been really accommodating. So I think that the whole team has been working together really well to try and make this happen.
Excellent. Did she mention how she heard about it?
She did. She mentioned it. She actually was talking with another resident who actually, it's our administrative assistant, Sue Raymond. She was mentioning the whole project to her, and she's like, "Oh, well, did you hear about this grant program that we have going on?" And so kudos to Sue Raymond for advocating for our programs that we have going on. And that's how she heard about it.
That's
So
great.
Yeah, go Sue. Right. Well, so I wanted to follow up on what Marianne just said about the process. And so just to reiterate for everybody, we're like on step 8 of our process. So EHS provided conditional approval. There were cost estimates. The building commissioner reviewed and provided support to the recommendation. And then he notified EHS of the bid status. The applicant then chose the preferred contractor, and now we're here at our particular step. So there were 2 questions and I don't know what draft I had, and perhaps, Amy, I'm looking at a former draft. There was something in there that said, does the homeowner have an interest in other real estate? Is that like an actual question that's asked?
are you looking at the application and guidelines?
Yeah, I was looking at the application, and that was one of the questions that was highlighted in the draft. And like I said, I don't know that I have a final of it, but so that's why I'm asking. Is that an actual question? Do we ask if they have an interest in other real estate?
Yes. Yeah, that is a question on the application.
Okay.
And there is no other,
Okay.
like there's no second home or.
Okay, great. And then the other
Yeah.
question that I saw was, is the contractor a town employee or special municipal employee? Is that also on the application or somewhere on the building commissioner's checklist, if you will?
I don't recall seeing that on the application or guidelines.
I can.
I'm not sure if that's
send it to you
in
and tell you where I
Henry's.
saw it.
Right,
I do believe this contractor is out of New Hampshire though. So
Okay.
right,
Okay.
in this case, it's not a municipal
Right.
employee.
So if we can just add that to maybe to whatever Henry has to take a look at, just kind of a check off, because we said that would be great. But I think that this particular application and the way that we are going to be reviewing these, this worked well, but it would be good to have it in advance.
agreed.
And I understand timing sometimes it's not possible. And then one of the things that I believe we had discussed as well, especially for this year, because we're kind of in a condensed time frame, is if we're finding that we do have a lot of applications, please let us know so that we can try to schedule another meeting with a quorum of members so we can get those approved. Because I don't think any of us want to be a holdup to these projects. They're just too important.
I'll make sure to make Marin aware.
Okay, thank you so much. Great. So based on this particular application, do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All right. All those in favor, Marianne,
Yes.
Sue,
Yes.
Bartlett,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
and Anna's a yes. Yay, we've approved our first mini grant application. And Amy, thank you so much for all of your help in getting this off the ground and implemented, along with Henry and Marin and everybody else at Town Hall.
Yes, I'm very happy to. It's going to reach a lot of people. And I know just to provide a little, there's been multiple applications sent out to other households. So I do foresee a very busy couple weeks in my future as these applications begin to roll in. So a lot of people have expressed their gratitude and like positivity towards this program and how it's great that we have this opportunity. So there's a lot of people that are looking for this type of help, and I think it'll reach a lot of people. So I'm very excited about it.
Great. All right, so you ready for LRAP?
Yes.
Okay. And so I just wanted to address the process. So again, I want to make sure that we're able to see the applications or however you want to inform us that we're going to have an application in advance. So do you want me to reach out to you when we're getting the agenda ready, or do you want to reach out to Maren and I to let us know so we can add you to the top of the agenda?
However, I mean, I can definitely reach out to whoever, or if you want to reach out, I'm fine with doing it. I'm flexible. However you guys wish for me to handle it, I'm happy to do it.
If you could reach out and let us know when you have an application, that would be
Mhm.
great. Because even
Yeah.
as soon as we know, it could be 2 weeks before the meeting, and then I'll know for sure, to add an extra time into to the agenda for that.
Okay, definitely.
Great. All right, so what do we have for us tonight?
All right, so we have a single individual. Their annual income is 35,000 a year. And their current rent is 2,300. Based on preference points, they are coming in at a 10. This is a single 64-year-old. Primary source of income is Social Security benefits. She does receive family assistance and to help make ends meet. She's in the process of trying to find a more suitable and financially stable living situation. We've accessed all public benefits, and which includes, fuel assistance, SNAP benefits, and we have gotten her on wait lists for subsidized housing, and she's maintaining that communication with the local housing authorities. And looking into other more affordable options. In the meantime, she is hoping to utilize the program to help get her head above water with getting some help towards rent.
All right, we'll open it for any comments or questions from the trustees.
Sorry, Amy, I just missed, what's her annual income from Social Security?
35,000,
35,000.
and that's including the family assistance, because that's been received pretty regularly. So that was counted as income.
Okay, any other comments, questions?
Make a motion to approve this LRAP.
Second,
All right, Mr. Harvey moved and Sue seconded, so all in favor, Mary Ann,
Yes.
Sue,
yes,
Mark,
Yes.
Bartlett,
Yes.
and Anna is a yes, so thank you very much for bringing that application forward and getting them started.
Good. Thank you very much.
Yep, and then Amy, I don't know, it's up to you if you want to stay for the next conversation. It's about the LRAP request to CPC. You're welcome to stay for that if you like, or not. It's up to you.
Could I,
Oh,
could,
thank
could I
you.
ask a question going back to the grant program? At one point, we had talked about when the cost of a project is beyond the 7,500, we would let Amy go as far as, another 20%, which would be $9,000 instead of 7,500. What's our policy when we know in advance that the cost is going to be substantially more than 7,500?
I think we said when the project was less than 7,500, we'd let her go up to 7,500, but we weren't ready to exceed 7,500 because that's what we said we would do when we applied for the grant.
Yeah, I
Oh,
understood
okay.
that was the cap.
Yeah, the
7,500.
ceiling, yeah.
That's how I
Right.
interpreted it as well.
Okay.
There is plans for, she has a way of coming up with the difference. She's
Right.
already got her financial plan in place.
Okay, thanks.
Terrific.
I did have a slightly different question on the grants though, is in that we, at $7,500, we have a limited number we can issue. So are you keeping track of, you know, the available funds, Amy, or is Marin, or who's keeping track of what's left out there?
No, I will be doing that and I'll be working closely with Amy on it.
Okay, so at 7,500, we could do like 18 grants or something.
Mhm.
So we have
16.
like 16, whatever the number was.
15 now.
Yeah. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that someone's keeping track of it so we have an idea. And if there's a limit, the number we can do this year versus next fiscal year, then we also need to keep track of that too.
Great
Yeah,
question.
good question. There is no limit this year, but there is a goal for a handful this year and most of them next year.
So the other question then for you, Marin, is should we be applying for more funds?
Is it possible?
Should we wait longer?
Grant, let's see, Community One Stop Grant application deadline is early in June. Hopefully by then we'll have a idea of how the program will be going. It's exciting,
Okay, so
this first
so
one.
if we should be applying, you'll let us know in time to apply? Or you'll apply for us?
So we should just add that to the, like the April meeting agenda? Okay.
I have no trouble writing the grant again with assistance. I just didn't know if we should be doing it or not. So it's just whether we should be doing it. I don't really know that information.
And some of that depends on exactly how the grant is written this year. They change the programs somewhat every year. And
Okay,
we'd have to see if it fits and also see if there is another grant, housing choice grant that the town is going for instead.
okay. So you'll add that to the April agenda, Anna?
Yes, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Great. Thanks for all those questions. Okay, so Mr. Harvey, the status of the funding request from CPC for funds to pay for LRAP.
Well, I have the eligibility request and the application for funding. I think they're ready to go. I'll check with Lucia tomorrow.
Actually, Carolyn has those already.
She does?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep, and it's on the agenda for tomorrow night.
All right, great.
And Bartlett, you're planning to be at that meeting as a member and to speak about AHT, or would you like?
Yes.
Okay, terrific. Do you need any other support there, or are you good to go?
No, I think I'm okay. Anybody who wants to is welcome to show up. I thought that the information about the increase in the number of applications regionally and so forth is very helpful, very powerful.
I totally agree. Thank you, Marin, and also Amy for the additional information. I especially like the comment that EHS saw a 31% increase in unduplicated individuals coming to us for housing application assistance from 23 to 24. So I think that number speaks volumes in terms of the need. So in addition to all the others as well. So thank you for that. And Bartlett has that information as well to be able to share with others. And if it gets raised at town meeting for some reason, we have that as well. Terrific. So anything else you'd like to say about the request to CPC, Bartlett?
Well, we're asking for 106,000. I'm not sure that all of that's in our bucket there. So we may have to take it in installments as you know, money gets.
Tell me what you mean by it's not all in our bucket.
Well, I'm not sure that there's enough money that this community preservation has allocated to us that we will get all of the 106,000 haven't, I don't know if I've seen recent figures of what the Community Preservation Committee has.
Okay.
Um,
Well, I know that there's at least 56,000 in there that's earmarked for us. Because last year during town meeting, that's part of what was brought in to
yeah,
CPC designated for Affordable Housing Trust. So there's at least that.
yeah.
So you'll
I
be
know there's a substantial amount of money. I'm just not sure that it goes all the way up to 106.
got it. So you'll be able to find out tomorrow.
Right.
All right. Well, we look forward to hearing back on that. Any comments about this from anyone else? All right, then we can move on. Amy, again, thank you so much for being here tonight. Our next topic is status of negotiations for 119 Tehadawon Road with Habitat for Humanity. Mark?
Yeah, so I just got mail from town council a few hours ago that they've basically reached an agreement. There's no further real issues with the contract between Habitat and town council. So I know people haven't seen it. It's my understanding that things haven't substantially changed from from what was originally presented. I can have them sent around, and I guess if people have big concerns, they can get back to me. I don't know how we want to proceed on this. I apologize for the late delay. Habitat has been it's a little hard to go between different parties that don't necessarily know what meeting schedules are between town council and Habitat, and vacations and holidays and everything else. It's been hard to keep everyone moving. So I don't know how necessarily we want to proceed. I don't think there's been major changes to the agreements. I can send them around. And if anyone has flags, I don't know what people think.
Would anyone like to see them? Or if not, then I can take a look at them with Mark. If you're good with that. So
Yeah, I'm good with that.
good with that. Sue's
I'm
good with
good
that.
with that.
Yeah, I'm comfortable with that as well.
Okay. All right. So looking forward to moving this one along as well. So Mark we'll talk about a time to do that. Sound
Okay.
good?
Thank you.
Thank you.
We don't need a vote on making, I think I've already been authorized, so it's just a further confirmation of that. We're okay.
I believe so. Maren, do you have that recollection as well?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Project.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. All right. So on to board business. Are there any updates that we individually have? Maren, how about you? Do you have anything that you would like to chat about?
Let's see, well, it's already listed later, but the subsidized housing inventory, we've got the updated inventory back from HLC. It does now include the 2 units at Hager Homestead. So bumped up our SHI to a couple of percentage or tenths of percentage points in increase.
Every little bit helps, right?
Yes, it does. It does. But then if you ask the question the other way, we would have to see the development of well over 700 new housing units before we have to add. This is not going to sound good, but before we would need to add more affordable units and stay above the 10%. So there is a lot of leeway in moving forward.
As being on the Affordable Housing Trust, we all know that every one housing unit matters to be able to make it affordable if possible. So,
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
all righty. Anything else you wanted to chat about?
Not off the top of my head. Thank you.
All righty. Let's see. Bartlett, how about you? Anything else?
No, I think I'm okay.
All right. Sue?
No, I'm good.
Marianne?
I'm good as well. Thank you.
All right. Mark, did you want to comment at all about the meeting with Keith regarding magic or anything else?
So Anna and I met with Keith Bergman, oh, it's like 2 or 3 weeks ago now, to talk about, he was a former TA in Littleton, and now he's the chair of the Concord of Affordable Housing Trust, whose budget is way, way larger than ours, and their scope is way larger than ours. There's like 3 housing boards in Concord that they're trying to bring under. He's working through, is it Magic, I think, or MAPC, to try and like create a, like a coalition of housing trusts so that we can all get together and share knowledge and plans. So one thing that we need to work on generally, it's not necessarily for this board, but probably for planning and select board, is to make sure that we have proper representation at those meetings, because the planning and select board both have representatives assigned, which we need to figure out how to best utilize our resources there. So.
Yep, and my one response on that was it would be a breath of fresh air if there was somebody other than staff always appointed to be the representatives. Some communities, it's a couple of select board members. Some communities, it's the town planner and a select board member. It varies quite a bit.
So my understanding is the select board has an appointment and the planning board has an appointment. So maybe it's something that should be on the planning board agenda and the select board agenda going forward.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, I don't believe it's not a planning board appointment. It's 2 select board appointments.
Oh, okay. I was told it was a planning board and a select board, but I'll confirm that and we'll figure something out. And in any case, we'll appoint Anna, so.
No.
Any other volunteers? Oh, Bartlett has plenty of free time.
Yeah, right.
Right. So, well, thank you for that clarification, and Maren, about the appointments. And yes, it was good to hear about all the work that Concord is attempting to do as well. And, every town, whether they have a lot of money or not very much money, every town has the same sort of issues, whether it's political will, process, money, you name it, same thing, just on a different scale. So, yeah.
I particularly like the idea of sharing knowledge across
Yes.
communities.
Yeah. And I don't know if Keith will reach out to you, Maren, but he was interested in form-based code.
Mhm.
So that is something that they might be looking at.
Concord has a lot coming online with the change in the use of the prison. So they're trying to figure out what to do with that for affordable housing and other things going forward. Have a lot of money available to them from the state to figure that out as well. So.
Make it into a hotel.
Yeah. They already have a lot of really small rooms.
Stop. Sue. All right, enough. Board business annual town report. So thank you very much to Maren, Marianne, and Mark for getting the draft started, and thanks to everyone for reviewing it. And so that was submitted to Lisa in the town administrator's office to be included in the annual town report that's distributed at town meeting in May. So any other comments on that?
Yeah, I think we also owe Lucia, thank you.
Oh, yes, thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you very much, Maren. Yes, Lucia as well. Next, we have the financials. So many thanks to Michelle, the town accountant. I updated the financials that I sent you, and we are in sync with her figures as well as of January 14th. And trust has identified all of these expenses and revenues so far to get us to the 1.1. Do you have any questions on those financials? Okay. When I spoke with her, she said that it was a handy instruction because it has it by projects, and she said that that was actually helpful as well to her to be able to see the funds that are spent based off of the different projects that we are working on. Questions? We'll keep moving on. Maureen talked about the subsidized inventory. And we talked a little bit during the discussion about Durkee with the Lab 9 site visit. And so Mark, Marianne, Maren Cooper, and I had that visit to Lab 9. And Marianne, thank you so much for making the introduction to Steve and to Niels. Maren sent around an email identifying the project that they're currently working on, which is quite a bit larger than what we have going on currently in Littleton, other than at King Street Common. And so while we were there, we did share the projects that are going on in Littleton, everything from Durkee to King Street Common. Their 2-bedroom, as an example, modular unit is anywhere from 850 to 950 square feet. And part of what makes them unique is because of the way they build, they are quicker to market. So that is one of the key benefits of using modular. And so, Maren, I just was wondering, were you able to connect them at all with anybody else through Jim to the Lipoli team or potentially any other developer who might be interested in something like that?
I did mention it to the Poli team. And one thing that I found very interesting that I heard at the site visit was in one location, they had done units above a parking garage. And that was one of the concepts we've seen over time for the 410 Great Road site, is units above a parking garage. So I don't.
So you never know.
Never know, exactly.
Never know what could happen, yeah.
Mhm.
Right, well, great. Thank you so much for doing that. And again, as any other developers come knocking on your door for whether it's the sites at further up Foster Street as part of MBTA, we should keep them in mind just as another resource
Mhm.
available in Littleton. Yeah. But it really was a great site visit. It's cool to see lots of moving parts, real moving parts. Got to stay out of the way and make sure you know where you're walking. All right. Any other comments?
Sorry, I was muted there. Just one quick comment for Bartlett and Sue, since they weren't on the tour. It was, a fascinating tour, I thought, of the facility when they talked about some of their differentiation. They're steel and concrete. They don't use wood in their design, and the benefits kick in often for higher structures, right? I think their sweet spot, they said, is 5 stories or higher. I think that for them to have a project with us here in Littleton, it would be for them wanting to invest to have a local project, like you mentioned earlier, Anna, when we were talking about having something here in town, or Maren, maybe the scenario you talked about, right? Building on top of parking. So I think the number of units is a little smaller than what their natural sweet spot would be, but there still could be opportunity. And they were interested when we talked about things like the Shaker Lane building and some other ideas, and definitely in meeting with the Lipoli team.
Exactly. Yeah. Thank you, Marianne.
Sure. Yeah, it was a good visit.
Very good to know that they're in town, and very good that they know what else is going on in town, because those are the kind of synergies that we should be making sure take place. And all right. So the next item on the agenda is about building capacity. And so I thought I would just talk about these for a second. I know that everybody is short on time, and I know I'm certainly not available during the daytime, but if anybody is, these are some great opportunities to be able to learn more, bring more knowledge to the trust. The first one is how affordable trusts and community preservation committees can work together. Shelley, who was on the call earlier, is going to be leading that, and it's March 11th from 1 to 2 p.m. So rather than inundate your emails and you're wondering why did this get sent, I just figured if anybody thinks that they're interested, we can forward that email to you. So
Yeah, I'd like to see it, please.
So I think everyone else on the call outside of you, Anna, is retired. So
Bartlett's not retired, he's a working man.
yeah, well,
So Bartlett, Sue, and Marianne are interested. Okay.
yeah, send it to me too. If I have time, I'll go.
Okay. All right. Great. So get that out. And then the next one, strengthening local boards and committees to support affordable housing. So again, it's MHP, the folks we just talked with, but this one's a three-parter. And the first session is on March 13th. It's also virtual from like 12 to 1:30 with 3 different sessions. And so they explore questions in a 3-module training developed by MHP's community assistance team, which is Shelley's team. And so they said that they're using real examples from communities across Massachusetts and experienced practitioners. Participants will gain a deeper understanding of the local ecosystem that supports or hinders the development and preservation of affordable housing. So again, a bit of a commitment on March 13th, 20th, 27th from 12 to 1:30. March 13th, 20, 27th from 12 to 1:30.
So I'm interested. I can only make the first 2 of the 3, but yeah.
Yeah, I've registered. I think I should be able to make all 3 of them.
Great.
But I'd be interested in getting the info, please.
You know, me too.
All right. Woo. All right. So what I will do is I will make sure to forward those emails to everybody to make sure that you have an opportunity to sign up. All right. And I really do miss that I can't participate, but I just can't. All right. So thank you very much for your future time to participate in those. Now we have, I think, some bills to review. Maren, can you share those with us?
No, I'm drawing a blank.
The soil testing
From Ted.
from Ted, yes. And I thought you had said there was one more, but maybe not. So while Maren brings it, well, actually, did I send this to everybody?
Yeah,
The invoice
got it.
from Ted Doucette was included.
Yeah, okay, great.
Materials.
So never mind, Maren. Everybody got it. So it's the invoice for the soil testing that was done in August, and then we talked about those results in October, and the invoice is for $687.50. Any discussion?
I think it's a bargain.
He was kind to us, that's for sure. So, all right. So do I have a motion to approve this invoice to get
I'll
paid?
make a motion to approve the invoice, $687.50.
I'll second.
Great, so Bartlett and Marianne. All right, so all in favor, Marianne,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
Sue,
Yes.
Bartlett,
Yes.
Anna's a yes. Okay, so we have approved that one. All right, so that brings us to, do we have any other new business that we need to talk about that we haven't already?
I had one quick question on the small grants program. I noticed it wasn't in the broadcaster for February. Can we make sure that it's in for March? And if we want to make sure that it's in the town newsletter, it has to be resubmitted. I missed the beginning of the meeting, so I wasn't sure if someone resubmitted it or was submitting something or just a flyer, so. But I didn't see it in February's broadcaster either, so.
Right, it wouldn't have been, they have to put that to bed a lot earlier than
Right.
we would have made it.
So we're just publicizing it in both now going forward.
So broadcaster and newsletter. Okay.
I mean, we can put the flyer up on the LCTV too if we want, just as a
Mhm.
one-page scroll thing.
And then, if you think that we should be also posting flyers of it around town, like at the Market Basket entrances where they have all the flyers, do you think that's something we should be doing as well at this point?
Happy to make them available.
Okay.
And
Mhm.
actually Cooper's good at site visits, so if we've got a list for them, then
Yay, that would be great. Market Basket and Donaldson's. The post office is always a good one.
Middlesex Bank.
Yes, they still have a lobby, a real lobby. Great. Thank you, Mark, for raising that. Sorry, I actually skipped an item on the agenda. Didn't mean to do that. Regarding updating the select board in March about our projects. So I heard back from Lisa, and she is wondering if we're good with Monday, March 24th, to go in and provide them with an update. So I'm asking if that would be an amenable date so that other members could also attend that evening.
I'll be there.
I'm so glad you can make it, Mark. Thank you.
Mark, will you be presenting?
I'd rather not, but if necessary, I could.
I think
I have-
Mark and Matthew will be there.
I have jury duty, but I expect I should be available in
Okay,
the evening.
I think that works.
okay. Great.
Yeah.
Great. Maureen, could I please ask that we schedule that as a meeting so that it can get posted and we don't have any issues for attendance?
Yeah, the good news is that on the select board's agenda, it'll be posted as a joint meeting and that covers it. If I have the information early enough, I will also post it as an AHD meeting, but that double posting is not required as long as it's on the
Yeah.
one agenda.
Okay, that's fine. I just don't want us to
Yeah,
be in Diane's crosshairs.
there you go.
All right, so I guess we're down to approving minutes. So we have updated minutes from December 17th, 2024, and new minutes from January 22nd, 2025. Any discussion? Nope. Okay. Do we have a motion for approving those minutes?
So moved.
Mark?
Second,
Bartlett. All right, so all in favor of approving those minutes, Mary Ann,
Yes,
Mark,
Yes.
Sue,
Yes.
and Bartlett,
yes.
and Ann is a yes, so voted unanimously. Thank you. All right, and then the last topic is when do we schedule another meeting? So Mark, I think you might have heard this part of the discussion if you were on as to whether or not we should go ahead and meet sooner than a month because of the technical assistance that we're getting. So the way that we left that part of the meeting was that Laura is going to be sending us a list of questions, preliminary questions is what she called them, so that we can have some thought about them and then come together. We thought that it would probably be best to meet as a group along with Laura and Shelley, just to even have that first discussion. And so we were talking about meeting sooner rather than later to continue to keep this going. So I know our next meeting is supposed to be sometime the week of March 18th, but if it is possible to have an interim meeting via Zoom, I think that would be really helpful. So, and those questions are going to go to Maren, and then she'll get them out to all of us.
You want to try to schedule it for 2 weeks from now?
That would be March 4th.
Yep.
That works for me.
That works for me.
Sure.
As long as it's just a discussion and it's via Zoom, I can do that as well.
6:30?
So 6:30 p.m. on March 4th.
And we're going to limit the topic to this one topic? Or
I'm sorry, go ahead, Mark.
I was just wondering, are we trying to restrict it and cover normal business on the 18th like we normally would, or?
Yes, the only exception that I would have to that is I would ask for the board's indulgence if we have another mini grant application that's ready by that time, that that we go ahead and review that. But that would be the only exception. What do
Okay.
you- Okay. Makes sense to everyone?
Mhm.
Yeah, makes sense. And we'd keep the meeting then on the 18th.
Yeah, so if you recall, originally I had requested we not meet tonight, because we were supposed to have a school event, I'm sorry, my school event at work. And I think the person scheduling it didn't realize it was February vacation. So that's why that event is now March 18th instead of February 18th. So I'm not available on March 18th because I have a work commitment. So if we could meet potentially on the 19th.
I'm available the 19th.
I will
Yeah, I can-
probably have CPC that night,
Oh, that's right. So probably not good.
the third Wednesday.
What about Thursday, the 20th?
That does not work for me. I have a third Thursday commitment.
Unless that's planning, I think I'd be fine. I don't think it's planning.
We don't have one scheduled.
All right, so 19th then? Bartlett, are you okay with that?
Yep.
All right, so let's do March 19th. Also at 6:30 virtual.
And actually, what time is CPC usually? They start at 7. So do you want to start AHT at 6?
Oh, that's an option. Would everyone be amenable to starting it early at 6?
Sure.
Okay,
Okay with me.
March 19th at 6 o'clock.
yes. So March 4th at 6:30 p.m. to discuss Durkee with MHP. And if there are any mini grant applications, that's the only other business we would see
Right.
that. And then on March 19th at 6 p.m., that would be a typical meeting. Okay, great. All right. Well, thank you all for your indulgence. We're done 8 minutes in advance. Yay. So thank you. Anything else before we go?
No, I think that's it.
Great. Thank you, everyone. Maren, thank you so much for staying late.
It's good when things get accomplished.
It is.